Hey guys, welcome to the sixth video in the Python for Beginners series. And in this video, we'll be looking at lists. What do we mean when we say that a variable is a list? When we say that a variable is a list, that variable can hold so many different values in it. Let me demonstrate. If I create a variable called x, I can make it a list by using these square brackets. And when I use the square brackets, I can give in so many different values separated by commas. Now x is a list which holds the values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. These are separate values, and we can also print this list by saying print x. And when I run this with the keyboard shortcut shift plus F10, it's going to print all the values of the list 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now I'm going to look at Python's official documentation on lists. This is the link. I'll link to it in the description below also. You can see here that they've used the example of squares. That's a nice thing to do. I'm going to do that. I'm going to create a variable called squares and set it equal to squares of 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That should be enough. Then I can say print squares, and when I run this program, it should print all the squares. Yeah, let's see what they do. Indexing. Okay, indexing is a concept with which you can obtain certain values from the list. For example, you only want to print the first value in the list. How will you do this? Well, in Python, every value in the list has an index number, and it starts numbering from 0. So the first value has an index number of 0, and the second has 1, the third value has an index value of 3 and so on. So if I want to print only the first value of squares, I'd say print squares, and in a square bracket I'd say 0. What this is going to do is it's going to print the 0th value of squares, since Python starts counting from 0. If I run this program here, you should see that it's printed 1, because 1 is at the 0th index in this list. We can also say, okay, let's print squares 1 and see what happens. And it printed 4, since 4 is the first element in this list, 1 is the 0th element and so on. But can you use negative values while indexing? In Python, you can. If you say print squares minus 1, what do you think it's going to do? It's going to go back to the list and print the first element from the last. So if I run this program, you should see that it's printed 25, because 25 is the first one from the last. If I say print squares minus 2, you should see that it's printed the last second value and so on. Now you can also print multiple elements from a list onto the screen by using the semicolon. The semicolon here signifies that you want to print the values from this index to this index. So if we want to print the values from index 0 to let's say index 3, okay, and if we run this, it should print values from index 0 to index 3 minus 1. Okay, when we use a semicolon here, it signifies that we're printing values from index 0. And how many values are we printing? 3. Now if we want to print the first 4 values, we replace this 3 by 4, and when I run this program, you should see that the first 4 values are printed, and there are only 5 values here. So let's see what happens if we give 6 and run this. You should see that okay, it did not give any error. Good for us. Anyways, let's see what's next. We can also add 2 lists together. So I'm going to create another list. I'm just going to call it list A, and I'm going to give it values from 1 to 5, and then we can say print squares plus list A. What what is this gonna do? Is it gonna add all the values together? No. It's going to add the list A variable to the squares variable, and it's going to print it onto screen. So when I run this, you should see that it's printed the squares list first, and after that it's printed the list A variable that I've created. Let's see what's next. Then okay, we also have, and that's called concatenation, by the way. Adding two lists together is called concatenation. Let's see. We can also use some really nice functions that Python has given us. Say we want to create a sixth element into this list, we could go in manually and type in the square of 6, which is 36, or we could use Python's method called append. Append method is used to add values into the list. So I can say squares ARES dot append, and in brackets I can give it the value which it should append to the list. So when I say squares dot append 36 and run it, it should, and of course we'll need to print squares after we append it. When I print squares, now you should see that it's printed the value with 36. Now when we use the append method, the value which you provided will get added to the list. Let's see what's next. We have the append function here. Then let's see, there's also okay, we can also do this. For example, by mistake we've given 37 into the list instead of 36. Okay, so there's a mistake. 37 is not the square of 6, and we want to change that somehow. We could go in manually change it to 36, but how we would do this using one of Python's methods is by saying squares at index. At what index is it? So let's start counting. 1 is at 0, 4 is at 1, 9 is at 2, 16 is at 3, 25 is at 4. So 36, 37 in this case should be at 5, right? So squares index 5 equals, we can change its value by giving it 36. So now when I say print squares, it should print all the squares with the correct value. You can see that it's printed with 36 here. Let's see what's next. There is also the len function that we can use. Len stands for length in Python. So if we want to know how long this list is, if this list is really long and we want to know how long it is, we use the len function. We can just say print len squares. Okay, what this does is it's going to print the length of squares list. So when I run this, you should see that it's printed 5 because there are 5 elements here, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Let's see, and that seems to be about it. We can also add different data types into the list. It's not just for integers. Let's see, I'm just going to create list A and give it values like dog and cat and what else? What can we get? Another animal. I'm not able to think of anything more creative than that. Now we can say print list A, and when we run this program, it should print all the elements of the list. So we can use lists with any data types. We can use them with integers, floating points, strings, boolean, anything. We can, but can we mix those data types together? Let's see. So we can say 1 true, which is a boolean value, dog, which is a string, and 89.4, which is a floating point. When we print that, oh, it did not give us any error, which means that we can mix all the data types together. And there's one last concept here, which is nesting of lists. When you say that you nest lists together. That means you're putting a list inside another list. It should be really intuitive. Let's create a list called list A again, and let's leave it blank for now. When you don't give it any values inside, it's just going to be a blank. Then we can create a list B and give it values 1 2 3 4 5, and then we can create another list C, give it values 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, now we can we add list B and list C together into list A? Let's see. Okay, so now we can say list A equals a list of list B and list C. Now if we run this program, we should see, okay, we need to print list A. So I'm going to print list A. If I run this program, you should see that it's printed list A, which consists of list B and list C as well. This is known as a two-dimensional list, since it has one list which contains two more lists inside. We can also add more lists into list B and list C as well. Then that would become a three-dimensional array, but we're going off topic here. Let's see. So that's about it. Let me know what you think of this white theme. I've changed it by going into File, Settings, and under Appearance you can change your theme here. Let me know what you think. Did you like this better? Did you like the dark one better? Let me know in the comments. And if you had any doubts, as usual, go down and comment below. I'll get back to you. And I'll see you in the next video. Next video is going to be about for loops. So see you then, and until then, remember, anybody can code.